again. Welcome to the Stuck Ahead podcast. Today we have Bernat with us. Bernat is a senior BI developer and partner at ESBRINA. He helps organizations turn data into real value. He's a content contributor at Tabular Editor and an organizer at Power BI Fabric Barcelona user group. He's also a Microsoft Data Platform MVP from 2022 and deeply involved in data community. And is also speaks a bunch of languages: English, Japanese, Spanish, and German. So welcome Bernat to the show. Anything you would want to add to this?
Well, I don't know if you mentioned I do speak Catalan, which is not really a door opener, but yeah, it is my mother tongue. Very proud of
Okay.
it.
Okay. Great. So obviously, welcome to the show. So I think the first question, which I generally ask everybody who comes here, is like their origin story. Like, where did they come from, and like, how did they end up in technology as a sector? Was it something you were passionate about since the beginning, or something it happened along the way? When you were studying and you felt, hey, this is the place, this is the thing I want to work with.
Yeah, I guess there was some attraction. I mean, not necessarily from what I studied because I was in engineering, so it's a much more general kind of thing. But yeah, I easily got very interested in programming those calculators that they were back in the day, or even like with Excel formulas and stuff. I found it very, very interesting. So yeah, I did quite a few turns. So after my studies, I did something completely different, like in social sciences and so on. And I was in Japan and so on. But at that point, there was the opportunity to work with a friend of mine, and basically I would help him like generate some Excel documentation. I would do that manually because I didn't know any better. But at some point, there was like some huge task that they were supposed to create a lot of charts based on some data, like 200 charts or something like this. And then I decided that I needed to start doing macros. So I started Googling my way around. And eventually I did come up with a working solution. And that was very relevant for a job opening once back in Barcelona. And that was, yeah, it was basically maintaining a huge pile of Excel macros and developing new ones. And for me, I didn't know any better, so to say, and that was very fun. I learned a lot how to program and how to consolidate macros that were spread all over the place and how to manage so many different files and code and updates and all this sort of thing. And from there, it kind of went on. Eventually, I changed jobs, and there was also some more, few more macros, but now there was also SQL,
Yeah.
and so that was good. And eventually moved on to yeah more SQL, SSAS, and then some reporting solutions like a little bit of Tableau, a little bit of Click. But in between, I actually saw like Power BI. So when everything froze during actually even before COVID, I started doing some Power BI. So when everything froze, I decided that yeah, Power BI was the one I wanted to go all the way in. So I started like buying some SQL BI courses and reading all these books. And yeah, and that has also got involved in like the community.
Yeah.
So in Twitter back in the day, is what's most of the dialogues were taking place.
Yeah.
And yeah, during COVID, I don't know, I was on Facebook, but I don't know, I had some bad experiences there. So I deleted Facebook, and then, but of course, you need something to scroll on. So I jumped into Twitter, and since I was trying to get serious about Power BI, I started like, okay, searching for it, like who's talking, who's saying something. And eventually I did find a very warm community. So I would start, you know, um, sharing the small blog post I was starting to put together, and that's it. Actually, took come from there.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the interesting question I want to ask is like obviously you have worked on a lot of different tools and technologies over the course of time,
Yes.
and now it's like everybody's talking about AI. But
Yeah.
so how do you think like AI transforms like the current market, like the scenario, and like how do you see the industry and where is it heading, basically?
Yeah. I mean, I do write like C sharp scripts, and I'm not really that good at C sharp.
Yeah.
So when eventually I managed to, bring all the scripting, authoring in Visual Studio, and I could like leverage all these LLMs. it almost felt like cheating, no? It's like, come on, this is way, way easier than it used to be.
Yeah.
And used for that purpose, I think it's amazing, right? Because you have the idea, and then with much fewer iterations, you get to where you want. I mean, because earlier it's not like you would write it from scratch either, right? You would Google it and
Yeah.
find some code somewhere and bring it there. So it's basically the same process, but much faster, right? And so that's one thing. But at the same time, I'm a bit worried about using AI as the actual tool that will do the changes to your models, right? Because I'm basically worried about like Power BI,
Yeah.
tabular models. So when you ask a prompt to do some changes,
Yeah.
then you have a black box that can understand your message and starts doing changes to your model, which might be right or not that right. And I think it's an overkill in any way because we all know like how much energy and everything this uses. Because I mean, it's a lot of work to be done, right?
Yeah.
And I think that doesn't really make much sense because when we are doing like modifications in a model, we know what we want to do. It's very clear. So we don't need any creative process in between. It's just like do this, do it right. So I think it makes much more sense to prepare like some scripts
Yeah.
that will do the changes that you want to do and then reuse that scripts because those will run like locally and they'll do exactly what you expect them to do. I think this is more a sustainable way of working. So it's important to keep it, to know what are we using it for and does it make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I also see like they're pushing it in all other ways. Like, yeah, here's your email and this is a summary. Like, I didn't ask for a summary. I wanted this is like a 5 line email. Why are you
Yeah.
summarizing this for me? We need to be careful because
Yeah.
just because yeah, it's there, then it kind of looks like it's free, but at the same time, laptops are going, the prices are really high because there's no RAM, and it's like, come on, we should be better than this, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I understand. Yeah. I think
Mhm.
the next question is going to be a nice follow-up to this one. It's like, so in your journey as a tech expert and obviously working on so many technologies, what is a common piece of advice or industry standard that you have found that is not quite right or something you think should be reconsidered?
Yeah, I don't know. I do see once in a while, like especially I don't know in the ETL, in the data warehousing. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like some companies like kind of specialize in creating data warehousing, and they are kind of in love with their own methodology. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
so good. We have this methodology. It works perfectly. But then, of course, I mean, you need to adapt somehow to the customer, right? So they need to tweak it a little bit so that it works for that customer. And then suddenly, maybe the performance is terrible because the particular connection or the driver they're using, or I mean, in theory, it should work perfectly, but in practice, it does not. And they are not able, like, to, think of it broader, like, hey, what is the main thing that we need to achieve, right? We need to make this data available to the customer so that they can start building their reports. Whenever in ESBRINA, when we've done like the closest thing we've done to data warehousing, it's always like, okay, you want a data warehouse. That's very nice. But what do you want to do with it? What are the reports that you care most about?
Yeah.
And then basically start building those tables that
Hmm.
you will need for your reports. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll keep growing that, but at least you'll have already a report that you can already, use and take decisions on that. And if the final data warehouse is not as beautiful as you would wish, so
Hmm.
be it. But it's important that the data is there at like, I mean, latest at 8 a.m. Things need to be refreshed. People need to be able to look at the reports, take decisions. What are they going to do that day, right? So I don't know. I've seen like yeah, a couple of projects like, hey, this is not serving anyone. What are you doing, right?
Yeah.
This is weird because they're supposed to be like, the experts in data warehousing. So very strange.
Okay. Yeah, that does make sense. I've seen some projects on data warehousing, so yeah, I can understand
Yeah.
like why does that happen and like why people do that. But yeah, so I think the next question is gonna be like a nice follow-up again to this one because I feel like we are already on the topic of data warehousing. But then I think one of the most important component of this podcast is also to help people who are like starting their career out. So let's say if you're starting your career in technology today with no connections, let's say, what specific skill set would you focus on mastering to stay relevant in the AI driven world?
Yeah. So first thing is to take responsibility about their own career, right? Because some people assume that like you join a company and then this company is going to take care of you. This is not going to happen. Yeah. So for the most part, you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So if you want to, progress and keep rising and learning, doing things, you need to start being very direct. It's like, I want to do this. I mean, and you ask for it. I mean, if it then happens, then you're in a great company and keep there, still learning. But if they don't, then you need to look for another way. Yeah. So either doing it the weekends or whatever, but you need to have your own path.
Yeah.
Yeah. From there, I mean, I think that most of us, we work as consultants. I think consultants is quite a lot of people work there. You need to be very good at what you do, right? Don't settle for like, yeah, I know a little bit how it goes, because this is not what's gonna bring you work, right? Yeah, being average is not really an option. I mean, and it's actually not that difficult, I would say. If you want to do something good, find a book that people say, hey, this book is good. Yeah, first be in the community, ask, talk to people, and then read those books. Read them. The knowledge is there. You just need some discipline to read it
Yeah.
and make sense of it. But if you don't do that, then what are you doing really,
Yeah.
right? And then also talk to people. Yeah, you'll see that how people handle things and so on. But at some point, you will also need to do the actual work, right? So read
Yeah.
it and then watch the videos and try to do stuff on your own. Like, hey, okay, now we have this, and how would that work? This is easier said than done. Normally, you don't have that much time to build meaningful things on your own
Yeah.
time. So there is a component of luck. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you need to show drive on what you do so that eventually you will get the chance. It's like they'll come with something. They say, hey, Bernat, can you do this? It's like, I have no idea. I haven't touched that ever. It's like, it's okay. You'll figure it out. That's really a present, right? Because they trust that you will be able to do it even though you haven't done it before. So that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky when I joined ESBRINA because that's pretty much what happened. And I was like, yeah, but Bernard, you're going to do a Power BI support at this large multinational company. I was like, what? I just did a couple reports. And it's like, oh, it's okay, you'll do it. And then so I started going around. Eventually, when I was Googling around, I ended it on like sqlvi.com and I saw that they have a book. It's like, okay, these guys know what they're doing. So I bought the book, I read most of it.
Yeah.
Then suddenly everything was much more clear in my mind. It's like, oh, that was it. And then you realize one day, like, oh, actually, I know more than other people. And uh, and then you can do a living out of it. It's quite easy.
Yeah. So I think I have like a question from like the answer you gave. So like a lot of times people like when they join organizations and like they obviously want to learn new things because let's say somebody has initial skill in one tool and they want to expand it and learn more things.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are like they don't know the pathway, like how do they learn? Some people prefer books, some like to read articles.
Yeah.
Um, some I've seen people attending meetups or user groups to like gather knowledge. But then like what would you say are the best sources to learn things, like the most reliable ways? Because like let's say there are tons of material out there. What would you recommend like as the some of the best ways to learn and upskill yourself, to stay ahead in the technological curve?
Yeah. Well, I might be very biased, right? Because I'm mostly in Power BI and Fabric space,
Yeah.
but now it's actually very convenient because it's right there. So the moment you have a trial capacity, or even like maybe you have a company where you can do some stuff, it's just a matter of clicking around and see what you can do. And of course, there's some items in which it's not easy to get into. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Real time is like if you don't have a project in which real time is involved, like what are you going to do about it? But I would say that at the very, very least, start playing with like data flows Gen 2 and lake houses and pipelines. This is
Yeah.
already is a big change, right, from what we used to have, because it was assumed that you would have a SQL server somewhere and doing your things there. Now at least we can take the whole thing
Hmm.
and then I do not really. know any PySpark, so I cannot really write anything on my own. But of course, now with LLMs and so on, it's not that difficult to put something together. So yeah, whenever there's like an API data source or something like that, you cannot load this directly in Power BI. Don't do that, right? You need to stage this data somewhere so that you don't ask for the same data over and over again.
Yeah.
That's where you should use like a notebook and then store that in the file section of a lakehouse or something.
Yeah.
And from there, you can process it in any way. I mean, if you're good with PySpark or you're confident with it, then yeah, you can do the whole thing with PySpark. Otherwise, just jump into the data flows Gen 2. They do
Hmm.
the job, and if your data volume is not huge, you might even work. So also, yeah, this is the problem. Some people are very like purists, right? It's like, no, the data flows Gen 2 are bad. Always notebooks.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, right? Because who's going to maintain this thing? I
Yeah.
mean, and how long are you going to take to develop that? Because I find data flows like so easy that it's just like, okay, you just click around, you keep expanding the JSON, boom, you have your table, boom, end of the story. You don't have to type the field names or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I find this very easy to do. And many solutions I've developed with data flows Gen 2, no big worries. Of course, I don't know. There is some things in Fabric I don't like, right? With especially credentials and so on. I don't know.
Hmm.
Sometimes it just breaks and then you need to fix it. And then it's like, why did that happen? Or like today. Today we have a degradation in Europe and it's like, what can you say? I mean,
Yeah. So I think like the other question I had is like, what would you think is like the most overhyped piece of technology right now? And then probably the other one would be like the one that would actually transform the way we are currently looking at, how we have built systems.
yeah.
Maybe, we use data at the moment. Um, and and what do you think would be like, if you, I'm not gonna ask you, hey, like what we are looking for 10 years down the line, but maybe like in a year or so, what do you think? How things will change?
Yeah, I mean, AI might be both, right? Because it's good for so many things and it's pretty bad for others. And I know many people who I respect deeply that are really doing great stuff with it. With, I don't know, this Claude something, and they do all this work. So there must be something into it, and it already is changing many things because, as I was saying, without that, there's many projects I would not have done, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, this, I don't know, you need to find some profile who knows how to write PySpark or give
Yeah.
me a couple months so I can figure out how this works. But yeah, it just worked, and I don't see I see it as a good thing, right? And but will some I don't know. I worry mostly about like how will people become seniors, right? Because if the easy task is already like, you can kind of ask the LLM to take care of that, what will junior people do? Or I don't know, where are we asking these new questions?
Yeah.
Because if Stack Overflow is going downhill
It's
because
gone.
nobody
Yeah,
goes for the
exactly.
questions anymore.
I saw that.
Yeah, this is something that worries me quite a lot. But I don't know. Actually, I mean, as humans, we don't take rational, and say, okay, we should evolve like this because this is good for our in the long term. This doesn't happen like that. We're more like a virus, I would say. We just whatever works most is whatever happens. So, and then maybe we'll find ourselves in a complicated position. It's like, yeah, we keep burning fuel, and then it's like, oh, we have a problem now. It's like, yeah, now what? Whatever, we'll think of something along the way. There's no
Yeah.
much planning involved.
Yeah, I remember, I think on one of the previous episodes, somebody say the similar thing that, like, how will people
Yeah,
become seniors? Because if AI can do everything, like, at least most of the tasks which are easier or repetitive, so
yeah,
how will people become more senior, or like,
mm,
CTOs or like leaders, engineering leaders? So I
yeah,
think that's a good perspective, and I think it's a little bit more like, still we are like figuring, in a phase we are still seeing how it's evolving, the technology essentially,
yeah.
where AI sits.
And I don't know because I also there is this image that people want to talk to their data. I'm not
Yeah.
that sure, to be honest, because it takes quite a lot of time to write down the
Yeah.
full question of what you want to know. So I think it's easier to just go in a report that already built with the logics that you care about and just, I think this chatting with the data, I'm not sure it's gonna take off, but who knows? I might be very wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that too as well. So yeah, I think yeah, that's a good that's something I think we'll know over the course of time probably. But yeah, I think a lot of people want to use like NLP, like natural language querying, to sort of like uh interpret the data and understand it. But again, like it depends on several different factors on how effective it can be.
Yeah,
But yeah, have you
but right
seen any?
now, yeah, sorry, because I mean, right now it's only you can only trust it
Yeah,
if you have a semantic model and then
yeah,
a report and you train it. This question is this chart and this data point will answer this exact question. So you need to do all this extra work, right? So you have already the report.
yeah,
Why would you want to do that? I mean, because if you don't have these extra steps, then it's asking a black box, give me an answer, we'll give you an answer. And
yeah,
like, hey, how did you reach that conclusion? I don't know. I asked the LLM and they told me that. It's like, you cannot really use that. So
yeah,
trusting the result is very, very important. So in order to build trust, I find it's this recent like the final like approach from data agents in Fabric, like, hey, I use this semantic model, I did this query, I got this value. Say, okay, this is good.
yeah,
So in that sense, it's okay. But then, I mean, you already did the whole work. It's like, are we really going to do that? I mean, I can understand that maybe for some, I mean, if you embed it and I don't know, and you want to, people want to have weird questions and they want just quick answers for some reason. So maybe they need that from some operational perspective. I don't know. Very, very strange. But in general, I would say that a report will give you more context, more information, and it should be easy, right, to reach the conclusion you wanna, the value you wanna see.
yeah.
So I'm a bit against that.
Do you see any, like, obviously data governance is a topic which has been talked a lot around this? Do you see what kind of challenges, at
Yeah.
least like, I'm not going to ask all of them, but I think, can you highlight one or two challenges you are clearly seeing in terms of data governance if people implement, like, let's say data, like they want to talk to data. So obviously at some point governance has to be involved because that data can contain a lot of different
Yeah.
things. So what, I think one or two
Understand.
challenges you see already coming through,
Yeah.
like,
Well, I mean, the only thing I've the significant thing I did on governance was like you see people say, okay, in Power BI, don't share it with individual users, right? You should always
yeah,
use security groups. This this is like, wait, what sort of security groups, right? Because if you're doing static security groups, you're just moving the dirt from one place to another, which is even harder to see who is there, who has access to this. So you're not bringing any extra value, and you're making it more complicated to handle.
yeah,
So I don't see why would you do that. Yeah. So I was tasked like Bernat, okay, so how should we do it, right? And then I don't know. I came up with something that is looks very obvious, but apparently it's not so much, which is there is something called like dynamic security groups, right?
yeah,
So in dynamic security groups, it's quite easy to create a security group with all the people from the same department if the
yeah,
metadata of the users is fine. So you need first to make sure that information flows
yeah,
from HR to Enter ID. But if it's fine, then why not use that for security, right? So it's like, okay, I did a report for finance. When I share that with somebody, I don't share it with John because of his name. I share it with John because of his department. So you can share the report with the finance department security group.
okay,
And the
yeah,
great thing is that when John leaves the finance department, we lose access to that report, which as it should be, because I share it with him because he was in that department, not because I don't know I like him or whatever. And then when somebody joins the department, we'll automatically get access to all the finance reports. So this is a much better, management. And it's actually, and you go to the report like, hey, who has access to this?
yeah,
And you see, oh, the finance security group. So I know then automatically everybody in finance will have access to it. So as it should be. And if there's an exception, of course, you can also add somebody there, but then it's very clear that somebody added a person there for whatever reason.
yeah,
So I don't know. This is a topic I wrote about in my blog, and actually, it's the only session I got accepted so far for SQL Bits a couple years ago. I sent all my big guns, like calculation groups and I don't know, and scripts and the nicks and the necks. and the one on security groups, and they picked that one. And I was like, okay, I'm going to SQL bits, whatever. So
Yeah.
that was great. So, but also a bit unexpected. It's important sometimes. Like there's some topics which are not so crowded.
Yeah, but they
So
get selected. Yeah.
to get
Good.
accepted, you need to think. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the last question is, so what advice would you give to recent graduates or early careers who are looking for opportunities and skills to build so that they can find like roles in the current job market?
Yeah. So, don't be afraid. Go for it. But and mostly, I would say that working in a big consultancy is okay. Yeah, as long as you are learning and you are enjoying it, I think it gives you like yeah some standing, and then it's easier to find also other job opportunities later. So even if it's not the best thing, just do it. Yeah, I don't know. I had to. When I was doing macros, I was doing that in like in a factory, right? So I had
Yeah.
to wake up very early, get a bus, go to the factory to do right macros, and I was like, okay, is this great? No, it's not, but it's a job, and I'm doing it, and I'm learning it. So and uh, and then it was even worse. I had to go farther and so on, and eventually I found the job I have now. So it's a process. So if your first job is not a great job, don't worry, just keep learning. Yeah, don't complain too much.
Yeah.
Complaining is gonna it's not gonna bring anything good to you. Just keep what you have. Be nice to people. Do your work the best you can. This
Yeah.
is the things that will bring you opportunities. Yeah, complaining, not so much.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's a very good advice. So we
Yeah.
have a last segment, which is like a surprise segment. So it's like a rapid fire round. So I'll ask you a
Mhm.
bunch of questions. You have to just give one word answer
Oh,
for that. And it's like mostly a little bit of the fun part of the whole podcast.
all right.
And I do that with everybody. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so let's start. So the first question is, do you like being a data builder or a data strategist?
Data builder.
One AI tool you cannot live without.
One AI tool?
Yeah, like Claude or
Oh,
Chat GPT. I don't know, or like the other was Gemini,
yeah.
maybe
I would
Copilot.
say yeah. So GitHub Copilot calling
Okay.
ChatGPT to write code. Yeah.
Okay. What do you like, meetings or asynchronous, conversations? For example, some people like more structured meetings, planned everything, but some people like the sync when needed. So what's like your preference and why?
Yeah, conversational is how I do it, and that's what I like. I work from home, so I appreciate some
Okay.
chat.
PowerPoint or Canva?
So far, PowerPoint for me.
Okay. Building fast or building responsibly with AI?
Oh, I don't build that much, but I would go for building fast
Okay. When
because
you're
you need to
building,
make sure. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
let's say, I don't know, like like you're working on a product or like building some report, do you like depth when you're working on things or like speed of execution?
Yeah, I would say speed, but there's a part of me that will not let me do certain things. Yes, it's like okay,
Okay.
speed, but kind of thing. Yeah,
The first programming language that you learned.
programming. Yeah, I mean, besides that calculator, I would say VBA was the big one.
Okay. One book, technical book that changed your thinking. Or if you don't have technical, you can also give some other name of the book.
I mean, I would go for the definitive guide to DAX.
Okay. I think the last question really is, if you were not working on a technical role, like you're not working something as a, like in a Power BI or maybe like in a data role, what else would you be doing?
It's a great question. I don't know, probably organizing stuff.
Okay. Okay. I guess with that, we come to the end of this segment. Thank you everybody for watching. You can find this video on our YouTube channel. I'll drop the link in the comment. Thank you again. Thank you, Bernat, for joining us. And with that, we come to the end of this episode.
Thank you for having me.